There are two kinds of people in this world. The people who fail to do what they know they should, and those who keep doing things they know they shouldn't. Guess what? You're both. Hi, I'm your host, life and business coach, Marcy Barker, aka your loving kick in the pants. In this podcast, I'll teach you the 6 steps of my accountability code that will help you wake up with clarity and show up with aligned action steps that make follow through easy and peaceful. All right, let's jump in. Hello, my beautiful people. Today, we are going to talk about how to reach your goals faster. And I think even though we don't want to admit it, we definitely want to reach our goals faster. And I know that kind of goes along with like hustle culture and grinding and all of this stuff, but like really, why not reach our goals faster? Like, why does it have to take a long time? Why do we have to span it out? Like, there's got to be a way for us to get what we want quicker so we can move on and we can start benefiting from what we really want. So today in this episode, we're going to talk about how to reach your goals faster. And I have 10 different tips, and some of these tips will be relatable to you, and others you're going to be like, I don't want to do that. That doesn't really align with me. And that is totally fine. In order to make this more accurate or usable, I want to apply all of these tips to a goal that I talked about with a potential client. We got on the phone this week because she's been listening to my audiobook. She wants accountability, and I sent out a text and I said, hey, how are you doing with the book? And she was like, well, I could use a loving kick in the pants. So we got on the phone and we talked about her goal. And she said, in your book, you talk about vision boards. And she's like, and I just don't really feel like they work. And I have a vision board, but every time I look at it, it just kind of makes me feel bad because I don't feel like I'm reaching my goals fast enough or even at all. And I was like, I love this topic. Let's totally break this down, because in past episodes, I've also talked to you about what is right for one person is not necessarily going to be right for you. And you are 100% able to have those opinions on all of these different goal setting tips. And for her, it was vision boards. And I said, okay, well, let's take it through the accountability code and see what pops out for you. So we did that. So as we talk about these tips, I'm going to apply them to her goal, which is to make an extra $1,000 a month with her business. And we'll talk about her vision board experience in a minute. But the reason why I want you to understand you can reach goals faster is because this is 100% in your control. If you want to reach your goals faster, there are definitely things you can do to speed up the process and to streamline what you really want. Let's dive in. Tip number 1, set clear and specific goals. Okay. If you define your goals with precision, the more specific they are, the easier they're going to be to break down and to make a plan around those things. For example, just making $1,000 an extra per month for your business, like that could happen a lot of different ways. You could start selling products. You could sell more products. You could start doing coaching. You could do an event. Like there's a lot of different ways to make that happen. So we have to get more clear with what that means for her. In this particular client situation, she was like, I could just pick up more clients and that would easily do it. And I was like, okay, that's a really great thing. Setting clear and specific goals. She already knew that she wanted to bring in more income by gaining more clients, doing individual coaching sessions, because that's what she was already doing and that's what she enjoyed doing. When you know this, you can easily be like, I'm not going to give in to any marketing or salespeople who are telling me I can make more money by selling more products. Like you already know that doesn't fit into the very clear and specific goal you already set. Tip number 2, prioritize your goals. So if you focus on a few key goals at a time, you will avoid spreading yourself too thin. And I am a big fan of this. I am currently in a phase where I am getting things off my plate. And I sit and I visualize what my plate looks like. And right now, I am so happy to report that there are 2.5 things on that plate. And getting things off that plate has been really motivating to me because I know that afterwards I'm going to have a clear plate for me to really decide what I want to do next. So when you prioritize your goals, you can say, where are my resources going? Where is my energy going? Where is that income going to go when it comes in? So prioritizing your goals is going to help you say, okay, this is at the forefront. These other things, they're on the back burner on purpose. So that when you look at your vision board, you don't have to feel bad about it because you already know which one of those things on the board is taking up all of your focus. Tip number 3, break goals into smaller steps. Now, this was super cool. When we started talking about the vision board thing and this client was like, I don't really feel like they work. She's like, I like to-do lists. I like checklists. So putting a picture on a board just isn't doing anything for me. And I was like, okay, this is so cool. What if you wrote a to-do list or a checklist for each item on your vision board? And she said, actually, that's really brilliant. And I was like, okay, I will take credit for that. But really, I'm not going to take credit for it because she already knew that she needed a checklist in order to function optimally. So all I did was apply it to different things on her vision board with one at a time. So breaking down your goals into smaller steps, I want you to ask yourself, what does that normally look like for me? Does that mean that I spend a day at the library and get it all done? Or does that mean I spend an hour each morning focusing on this thing? Like, breaking down your goals into smaller steps is literally a really great way to keep your eye on the prize. So I'm a big fan of that because that is what the accountability code does, essentially, is when you start at reflection and humility, you get an idea of what's going on in your brain. And then as you go through planning and implementing, it's like, let's take this big picture, this big goal, and kind of bring it into the focus right in front of my face so it's not this huge perspective. Tip number 4, create a deadline. Now, some people don't like setting deadlines because it's kind of like, don't tell me what to do or else I'm just not going to do it. So I want you to, first of all, take a deep breath and give yourself permission to decide what that deadline looks like. And when we're talking about professional development and self-development and accountability, sometimes there's not always a way to check off, like, in 1 month, I'm going to be a nicer person. Like, no, that should be happening every single day. So creating a deadline is going to look different for you. In this client's example, we could totally put a deadline to her goal of making an extra $1,000 per month. And you could say 30 days from now, I'm going to look at my income and there's going to be an extra $1,000 that wasn't there before. So when you set deadlines for each goal, having a time frame adds urgency to what you want to do. And even, like I said, you're the boss. If you want to set a deadline, but you also give yourself a grace period, like, there's nothing wrong with that. If you want to set checkpoints, you can totally do that. But creating a deadline is one way to help you really stay focused on what you want and to make sure that it doesn't become a goal that just falls into the abyss. And urgency, there's a story in my book about urgency, and I highly recommend that you read it. And if you don't have the audiobook yet, you can grab it for free. Tip number 5, stay organized. Okay. Now, if you're one of my free-spirited people, you're like, don't even talk to me about organization. Again, you get to take a deep breath and decide what this looks like for you, because I can guarantee you there is a part of our human nature that craves organization and patterns and habits that keep us aligned. So when you hear get organized or stay organized, I want you to know that if you work with your body and your brain, you will develop those little patterns and habits that keep you in an optimal space. For this client, staying organized can literally be focusing on that one to-do list or checklist that she talked about. And this is like, okay, you don't need a whole notebook. You don't need a whole tracker. You don't need a whole planner. Like, just to stay organized, keep that one checklist at the forefront. You could even turn around all those other images on your vision board to stay focused and stay organized. Hey listeners, the message of waking up and showing up is yours for the taking. In fact, it's free. I've recorded my entire audiobook and I'd love for you to consume it between episodes. Head to marcybarker.com to get instant access to the accountability code Wake Up and Show Up. All right, let's jump back in. Tip number 6, stay consistent. Now, this might be a struggle for a lot of people. I have a whole podcast episode on staying consistent, but I want you to know that if you've already done these other tips that we've talked about, your ability to stay consistent just went up, because consistency is dedicating time daily or weekly to work towards your goals. So even if it's just a small step, like viewing your checklist or putting it somewhere you can see, congratulations, you are consistent on focusing on your goal. The more that you do that, your brain is a powerful tool in finding ways to make it happen. And all you have to do is put yourself in a position or an environment that's going to propel that forward. Tip number 7, learn continuously. I absolutely love that this is a tip in reaching your goals faster, because in this conversation with a client, we talked about her desire to create connections, and that creating connections is something that really filled her bucket, but it's also going to be one of the things that help her make an extra $1,000 a month. So we talked about different resources and opportunities that she had available to her. And she said, yeah, I know that there's a mastermind coming up in my area. She's like, but I really just don't like that topic. I really don't want to use artificial intelligence in my business. And I was like, okay, she does not know how amazing ChatGPT is yet. And that's why she's saying that. But I wanted to probe her a little bit more to challenge that belief, because if you want to reach a goal that you haven't done yet, you have to do things that you haven't done yet. And learning continuously is the way that you will become enlightened of like, oh my gosh, I know how to create $500 a month in my business. But if you want to get up to $1,500, $2,500, $10,000, like you have to learn something that you obviously don't know right now. So I asked her, could you still go to this event and maybe just keep an open mind about what you might learn? But the main focus is for you to create connections and just to be in a room with very supportive people. And it was really nice because she said, yeah, maybe I don't like artificial intelligence just because I don't know how to really use it yet. And I was like, bingo, that's exactly what it is. However, you get to decide how to reach your goals faster. If you're like, I just need to meet more people, then that's fine. I'm not saying that everybody has to learn how to use AI in their business, but you know what? If you learn continuously, you're going to find those resources that you didn't know about before. So continuous learning can provide new strategies and insights to accelerate your progress. And this leads us right into the next tip, which is to seek mentorship or guidance. Now, this is so important because it's kind of like, okay, let me go to the library and let me pick up a book on knitting when I really want to know how to create a shed in my backyard. If I'm telling everybody, hey, I want to build a shed, I'm going to learn how to do this, and then I go and pick up a book on knitting, it's like, what? That made no sense whatsoever. Don't you think it would make sense to go talk to somebody who has actually built a shed before? Like, that's the exact same thing as seeking mentorship and guidance. And I loved that she shared her goal with me and she booked a call with me, because her doing that was an act of seeking mentorship and guidance. And even if you can't pay for it, or you're not ready to invest in yourself, there is still a way for you to reach your goals faster by consuming content that supports what you want to do. So finding a mentor or a coach who can provide guidance, feedback, and motivation is going to be so beneficial because you're talking to somebody who has already done it. I cannot stress the importance of really investing in yourself when it comes to reaching your goals faster, because your coach or mentor has the ability to pull out all of the stops. They have the knowledge to say, don't do this because I did it and here's what I learned. And if I could save my clients the time, money, and energy, I mean, that's why you hire a mentor. So I can't stress that one enough. Tip number 9, stay resilient. Okay. We talk about this in other episodes about you're human, and there's going to be times where you're super motivated and other times where you're like, I just can't even do life today. And staying resilient means expect setbacks and expect challenges along the way, because if it was so easy to reach your goal of $1,000 a month, like, you would have already been doing it. There's setbacks in your life that are going to challenge you. And if you can know what those things are, if you can perceive what they are, or you learn from past experience, like, that's going to help you reach your goals faster because you can plan to overcome those. Resilience, actually, believe it or not, is crucial to reaching your goals, because that provides you with long-term ability to sustain the goal that you're reaching. So staying on course is definitely needed, and whatever you want to label it as, just know that it's something that you've got to develop over and over and over again. So resiliency, even if it's not a core value of yours, I want you to give yourself a pat on the back and give yourself credit for you getting to this point in your life and your goals, because you've had to prove resiliency to get here. All right, the last tip is celebrate milestones, okay? We can't just snap our fingers and have our goals done. They do take time. And even if you were on a race to reach your goals super fast, do not underestimate the power of pointing out what you're doing right, how you're staying on the course, and how you're reaching those little milestones. So acknowledge and celebrate your achievements, even if it's not the big goal you've set. Celebrating your milestones actually boosts your motivation, and it helps you stay on the course by reinforcing positive habits. In the call with this client, she talked about how she had the availability to take on 12 clients a month, and that she was currently operating at just 3. So as we reevaluated her vision board and we created a checklist for one specific item, it became very evident that her goal was to increase her clientele, but we wanted to make sure that we did it in a realistic way. So I asked her, I said, what would happen if you just doubled your clientele and you went from 3 clients to 6 clients, even though you have room for 12? And she said, you know what, if I added 3 more clients, yes, that essentially doubles my business. And she said, that's how I will bring in an extra $1,000 a month. And I just thought that was so cool, because on this call, she was doing a lot of things right already, but she had the humility to break it down and to share things that weren't working. And the beauty of it is, by the time we were done, she was like, this is totally doable. I love my vision board now. I love that it's doable for me, and I love that I can see a path to making this happen. And it really is not going to be a lot of work. It just is me deciding how to be more focused and more committed to that thing that I want. So she had the purpose there. She had the reason behind it. She had knowledge of her strengths, and she had that piece of humility that will really help her level up in a faster way. So I can't stress this enough. Like, you listening to this, you have so many gifts, you have so many abilities, and you have so many opportunities. And the fact that you're listening to a podcast about accountability just says a lot. So I want you to give yourself credit where credit is due, and don't be the one to hold yourself back. There's enough resistance in this world, in our environments, that our mind should not be the one holding us back. So if there's anything I can do to help you reach your goals faster, if one of these tips struck a chord with you, I would love to help you implement that into your life. And I want to promise you that as you take your goals seriously and you apply the accountability code to your goals or your values or your problems, you're going to see significant results, not just in your actual goal, but in your being, in your ability to be happy and to feel peace and to feel good about yourself. You're going to get what you need in this moment and what you need long term. And if I can be there to support you, I'm more than happy to. So I will see you next week for the next episode of Your Loving Kick in the Pants. Hey friends, I want to thank you for listening to this episode of Your Loving Kick in the Pants. If you got any value out of this episode, I would love for you to drop me a review or share with a friend what you learned. All right, I'll see you next Wednesday for Your Loving Kick in the Pants.